this is Joseph Pinola, and if you haven't heard of him, you're under a rock. He runs the U Rock Foundation. Tell me what you do. Yeah, and the goal.
Sure. The UROC Foundation is a music-based mental health nonprofit, and our claim to fame, what's gathered us followers over the however many years it's been in existence now, are these really raw and intimate video interviews we do with rock stars. And the reason that's like our main piece of content is because when I was at my worst, my teenage suicidal self, nothing helped me more than music. I couldn't tell you how I could feel, but I could play you a song that did. But when I first came up with the concept, it was like, okay, I have an opportunity to help people with this community project. I know I want to help people who are depressed, who are suicidal. How can I do that? And at the time, I was working for a company that distributes musical equipment, and it was my job to do marketing, graphic design, and artist relations. So I knew some actual legit rock stars because we had some endorsement deals going on and what have you. So if the music by itself is so empowering, how much more empowering would it be to hear from the people who wrote that music and to share their stories about the lyrics that have helped so many others? And now I can humbly say that the videos have done exactly what they were intended to do. All you have to do is head on to YouTube and scroll down for a little bit to see how much it's helped people, literally saving lives in some cases, which I'm very, very proud of. So in addition to that, that's our big claim to fame. I do things like visit schools and go to like conferences to talk, because I like to think that my personal story has some of the same impact that these rock stars testimonials do as well.
I appreciate that. I mean, it's that part of like I can't really explain how I feel, but I can play you a song. Like that's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
even at my worst, like which, I've been depressed on and off. I mean, my whole life. But at my worst, it was always for me like Alanis Morissette. And not just the first album. Everybody knows that, but I mean, just all of her music in general, like speaks to me on such a personal level. I feel like I could have written it myself. And I imagine that that's kind of where you're coming from with that. It's, you see these musicians that write these things that so intimately speak to how you're feeling. It's such and nothing else does that in the world other than music. It's crazy.
Pink Floyd and Nine Inch Nails, and until it switched to Pink Floyd and Leonard Cohen in 2004. So it was like Pink Floyd was my first love, like my first real deep poetry love. And I was like, man, this guy's as fucked up as me. Like he got in trouble for writing poetry too. You know what I mean? I thought he was just like everything. And I was sitting outside of Coney Island with my sister Terry, like, and it played on her radio system. It was Hey You, the first song I ever heard by them, and I was like transfixed. It was over, and they've maintained still my second favorite. And then Trent Reznor, he sounded like my poetry when I was a teenager, and I heard it the first time, and I was like, oh my God, this is so similar to what I'm writing, how I'm feeling. The beat, it resonated with me. It was like he was creating emotion to go with the poetry that I liked, and that emotion and the poetry reached me on levels that I needed to diverge, like get out of my body. But once I got it out of my body, by 2004, I found Leonard Cohen, and I was like, I switched over like the way Sonny did with the Patriots and the Bucks when they got fucking Brady down there. Like, it was like fast.
Who's Sonny?
I still love him as a musician and things like that. I truly do. I just think that, and he still resonates with me. Like today, we're on some similar like emotional algorithm based on like create. but he does bring too much nostalgia into my life right now. So like Leonard Cohen puts me in a better frame of mind. You know, he's
I
my
get that.
huh?
I totally get that.
I am odd man out. I mean, obviously, suicidal ideation is something that everybody has at one point in their life. I think has, but in my case, no, I've never actually attempted it. So I'm going to be odd man out for sure.
Well, not really.
Not a bad thing to be out on.
Yeah, I honestly, it's a fear of death. It's like an unhealthy, abnormal, intense fear of my own mortality.
Like when somebody manipulates you over and over and over again, it actually causes brain damage. It makes you stay in situations where you become a shell of a person because
in the world. That. And I realized it was the most selfish thing I could do. You know, they are like the main reason why I continue to like be here no matter how much like I don't want to half the time.
At the same time they anchor me to life, there's another part of my brain where I'm now even harder on myself because of their existence. And the metaphor I use is like the cracks I used to see in myself now appear as like gaping chasms. When we were kids, I'm generalizing, of course, but if you were bullied, at least it stopped when you left school. But now you can't escape it unless you're not on social media. And of course, almost every kid wants to be on social media.
She didn't come down in the time that she came down. If Bart didn't do what he did, you know what I mean? I wouldn't have made it. So it was like a whole group effort, and I almost died 4 times that night. It was rough.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know it's not always easy to talk about. I'd really like to know everyone's opinion about suicide in media, like for shows like 13's Reasons Why, and like even going back to like Dead Poet Society, because there's some discussion in like the doctors of the world, not lived experience experts like us, but like the doctors of the world, the people who haven't lived it but study it, say that there's something called suicide contagion. And that's where, when it's showed, where it's depicted, it makes it more likely for others to do it because they see it and it puts the idea in their head.
Like, what brought you to that moment? Like, what made it seem so hopeless?
Well, my ex-boyfriend had passed away in 2004, who was struggling with addiction. He ended up overdosing and dying, and it was an accidental suicide that he had. After the fact, during the grieving process, I instantly went to suicidal ideation. Like, I wanted to kill myself because it was really traumatic watching him die and then having to make a decision with his mother to pull the ventilator and actually having to sign paperwork for it, at the age of 20 years old. So after the fact, I had reached out to a bunch of friends because we all went to school together. And there was a girl that I went to school with that I used to be really good friends with. And she and me had a little falling out. She went around and told everyone that I gave him the drugs that killed him, which wasn't even true because at the time I never touched anything except for pot. So It was really frustrating, and people were cyberbullying me. I mean, I was getting hate mail. People would throw things at my house. They would send me emails, instant messages, write things about me on the internet. I had pictures of me plastered all over the internet of me like half nude and people writing stuff underneath. And it was getting to the point where it was relentless and I was just trying to grieve, and I already wanted to kill myself. And then I had people every day telling me that I should.